Hey guys, so since Phase 2 is right around the corner, I figured I'd make an Arcane Mage guide since it'll be the go-to spec for all mages coming into Phase 2. I've personally been using Arcane since the start of Phase 1, and pretty much everything I'll go over will still be applicable for all future phases. If you disagree or feel like I've missed anything, feel free to comment down below so others can at least benefit from that information as well. So let's just jump right into it. We'll take a look at the talent tree first. You can find these online, so I'll just skim over it quickly. I'll also add a link down below, but this is your basic arcane talent. Some things to note here is that you gain a 40% threat reduction from all arcane spells, so this will allow you to start casting a little bit earlier than you're used to, or even pre-casting at times. And you gain 10% spell hit to all arcane spells. So what that means is that you'll be valuing hit a lot less than you would normally do if you were playing Fire or Frost. Now this is where you will get 2 free flex points. I personally prefer putting it in Magic Absorption. However, you can also put it into Wand Specialization or Magic Attunement. Comes down to a personal preference. I just feel that Magic Absorption has more of a wide variety of uses compared to Wand Specialization, where you don't really want to be using wands all too much. And Magic Attunement, I personally haven't really found any use for it in Phase 1, potentially in Phase 2, but currently I haven't had any. The rest is pretty basic stuff. You'll want your clear casting procs, you'll want your arcane meditation for 30% mana regeneration in combat, you'll want your arcane power for those cooldowns, presence of mind as well. There's really no leeway here. These are the best talents that you could use. If you're using something else, then you're doing it wrong, to be honest. In terms of Arcane Fire versus Arcane Frost, I know there's a debate out there regarding which one is better. I'm sure all of your Firelocks within your guild will tell you Arcane Fire is a much better spec because it increases all of their DPS due to that improved Scorch debuff. But to be honest, just go Arcane Frost. The DPS increase from your personal DPS will probably outweigh the DPS increase from the improved Scorch debuff. Unless your locks are really big pumpers, I would just go Arcane Frost. It's a lot easier. In the Frost tree, you'll want to get all the talents that improve your Frostball DPS because that will be your filler spell when you're not going to be casting any Arcane Blasts. So you'll get the improved Frostballs, the Ice Shards, Piercing Ice, so on and so forth, and obviously your Icy Veins, and you'll get Cold Snap, so you'll be able to use 2 Icy Veins back to back during a fight. One thing to note though, you will be taking 3 out of 3 Elemental Precision. However, the tooltip is actually wrong. So it states that you gain 3% hit to frost and fire spells. However, you actually gain 6% hit to frost spells and 3% hit to fire spells. That's how it was also back in the day in original TBC. So just something to keep in mind when you're gearing out the hit. You'll actually need a little bit less than you originally think, just simply because you gain 6% hit from all frost spells due to that talent. Looking at stat priorities, what you will want here is I. So there's some debate, but again, it really depends on your kill speed as well as your group composition. But I would say that on average, 1 intellect is quite similar or valued as 1 spell power. You take this with a grain of salt. Again, you can sim your own gear, your own group composition, if you wish to get a more accurate representation of what that would equate to. But just as a rule of thumb, I'd say 1 int equals 1 spell power roughly. So you'll want to value intellect quite a lot. For those who aren't really aware, it's mainly due to this talent here, which will give you essentially 1 spell power for every 4 intellect that you currently have. So that's one of the main reasons why you'll want quite a bit of intellect. Now, essentially after you prioritize spell power and intellect, you'll then want to prioritize crit. So spell crit is quite useful with Arcane, especially since you have an extra modifier in your talents, which will allow you to do a little bit more damage. Then you would want to prioritize hit. I know this might seem abnormal, especially if you've played Fire for a while, where hit can be a bit difficult to come by. but since Arcane gives 10% free Arcane spell hit, you essentially only need 6% hit from your gear in order to hit cap. And anything above that will only benefit your Frost spell hit, which isn't that useful. As you'll see in the rotation section, most of your damage comes from your Arcane Blast. And lastly, there's what I call the secondary stats, which are basically things like Spirit, Stamina, Spell Penetration. They're nice to have, but I wouldn't go out of my way to get them. Now, moving on to your consumables. What you'll want here is we'll take a look first at the elixirs versus flasks. You can sim these just for yourself, but I would say in 90% of the fights, the elixir of Draining Wisdom as well as Adept's elixir will outperform a flask. Unless your kill time is quite quick, where you'll gain more from the spell power, the raw spell power, than the intellect, spell crit, and spirit, and so on, then you can use a flask. But otherwise, just go for the elixirs. They're cheaper as well, so it's a lot easier. It's totally fine to use a flask if you're, say, on progression. I might myself plan on using flasks on progression week for phase 2 if you're expecting to wipe quite a bit. It's totally fine. In terms of cost, it might win outright, but if not, just use the elixir. It's just a lot easier. For potions, you'll want to bring a lot of super mana potions. I'll be honest, yeah, I tend to almost never use a destruction potion. You can use it, but there's very little times where a destruction potion will outperform a super mana potion, unless you're kind of at the end of the fight. Your mana potion is off cooldown and you have enough mana to sustain like those last 30 seconds or so. You go ahead, use a destruction potion. Other than that, really just check those mana potions on cooldown, and they'll give you a lot more damage output than using destruction potion. For oils, you'll want to use the Brilliant Wizard oils. Don't use the Superior Wizard oils, the new ones that came out in TBC. So just use the old ones from Classic. They'll be your best in slot till the end of the game. Food buffs, you'll want the Blackened Basilisk, 23 spell power, 30 spirit. Once again, best in slot food buff till the end of the game. For scrolls, there's not many that are too useful to bring to raids, since most of the scroll buffs can be overridden by typical class buffs like Arcane Intellect or the Priest Stamina buff and so on. The only one that I personally find myself using regularly is the Scroll of Spirit, since my raid doesn't have a priest that's spec'd into the Spirit buff. So if you find yourself running into that same issue, then just bring a few of those scrolls. They're quite cheap. You can just simply buy them off the auction house. And at the end of a long fight, the scroll can give you enough mana back just to cast a few more Arcane Blasts. In terms of mana gems, you'll always want to have a fully charged mana emerald at the start of the fight, so make sure to prep those beforehand, because I know by experience forgetting that really fucking sucks. You'll have no mana and you'll wish you'll have created one beforehand, so just make sure to have those. If you know your guild is pushing the fight a little bit longer than you'd want, like say the 5-minute mark, where you'd be able to use all 3 stacks of your mana gem, make sure to just prep a second tier of the second tier gem ahead of time, so you have that in case the fight goes a little bit longer than you're used to. Just make sure to have that in case. Lastly, in terms of any event buffs, like we just had the Midsummer Fire Festival, there was the Midsummer Sausage you could have for free 23 spell power. If there is any events like that, just make sure to stock up on those for the next few raids. At least you'll have it for a few lockouts, so it'll just help out a bit. And lastly, guys, just bring bandages. To be honest, like it's one of the easiest things to do. Everyone should have first aid maxed out. Help you out your healers. Just bring those bandages. If it does come down to it, at least you'll be able to heal yourself. Your basic rotation, it's really not that complicated, guys. You'll want to spam Arcane Blast and use your cooldowns as early as possible. So that includes your 2 Icy Veins, your Arcane Power, your Trinkets, so on and so forth. Make sure to drink mana potions and use all your gems on cooldown as well, because you'll definitely need it. And whenever you do run low on mana after that, just either call for an Innervate or use your Evocate if that's up. However, with that said, you'll eventually run out of mana regardless if you just keep spamming Arcane Blast. So when that time comes, when you're around 20% or so, just simply start using a 3 Frostbolt followed by 3 Arcane Blast rotation. What that'll allow you to do is you'll slowly gain mana back, assuming your group composition is pretty typical. And then whenever you do feel confident that you have enough mana or you have, say, your potion that comes off cooldown, then just go ahead and start spamming Arcane Blast again. Keep in mind though that any haste items like Quagsire procs, or if you use, say, Icy Veins during this rotation, this may actually mess you up in the sense that the additional haste that you'll be getting will actually eat up more mana than you'll be saving by using this rotation. So what you'll have to do is you'll have to adapt and typically add an additional Frostbolt into the mix. So what this will look like is you'll be using 4 Frostbolts followed by 3 Arcane Blasts in order for you guys to save some mana. So definitely just something to watch out for. To finish off, I wanted to give you guys my thoughts on the best gear you can get right now in Phase 1. That way you can work towards some of those pieces if you're thinking of trying out Arcane, or even if you want to know what to focus on going into Phase 2, at least you'll have a good idea. Just wanted to preface this before we go over the gear though, a lot of the best gear depends on your group composition. So, aka if you have an Ellie Shaman for that 3% hit or not, and if you're ally or horde. So a lot of times I'll give you 2 or more option. That's simply because one isn't necessarily better than the other. It's just because it really depends on your composition and what type of stat you need. Also, I will not go over any of the world boss loot. That's simply because that's only available to a very limited amount of people, and I'm assuming most people out there won't be able to get it, so I just won't include those. So let's start off here with the Helm slot. Just to clear up some misinformation out there, a lot of the older guys will still have the Spell Strike Hood as your best in slot. That's currently false, and the reason for that is the Chaotic Skyfire Diamond, the meta socket, was expected to not come out during Phase 1, but since it is available right now, you really want that meta socket. So you'll want to get your Tier 4 Helm, just save yourself the gold, just don't bother crafting the Spell Strike set. For the neck, there's really 2 options you can go for. So either you can get the neck off of Moros, which gives you some spell power, some hit, or you can get the one off of Prince, which gives you some spell power, some crit. So really depends on whatever stat you need, simple as that. For the shoulders, you'll want to get your tier 4 shoulders. They drop off of Hiking Mulgar and Girls Lair. They have 26 int, 27 spell power, 15 crit, 2 gems. There's really nothing else that's comparable to those, so they're just straight up your best in slot. For the cloaks, there's once again 2 options for Abyss cloaks. If you don't need the hit, go for the cloak from Hiking Mulgar in Girls Lair. This one has 28 spell power, 23 crit. If you do need the hit though, there's a very similar cloak that drops off of Prince and Karazhan, has 30 spell power, 18 hit. For the chest, gloves, and belt, you'll really want to craft your Spellfire set as soon as possible. So don't be slackers, guys. There's really nothing comparable to it right now in Phase 1. The set bonus is just too good to pass on. It's an extra 7% of your intellect that's converted to spell power. And since you'll be stacking intellect anyways, this is going to be really huge. Also on top of that, the raw spell power from every individual piece is just flat out better than anything else that you could get. And you can also use the belt as a transition piece going into Phase 2. For your bracers, the BIS bracers are your PvP bracers actually, due to the fact that it gives you a little bit of crit and slightly more intellect. If you aren't really into PvP or you just want a quick upgrade, there are the bracers of Havoc that can be crafted from tailoring. It's a great alternative. It has 30 spell power, a little bit less intellect, and both of them have a socket, so pretty similar in terms of stats. For the weapons, there's the Mind Blade off of Prince, or there's also the Sword off of Gruul. They're pretty much identical stat-wise, so just get whatever one that you can get your hands on. In terms of the offhand, the best in slot is the offhand from the badge vendor, the Talisman. This one has 14 intellect and 50 arcane spell power. this will be your BIS. If you are kind of short in terms of badges, haven't done too many heroics, you can always get some quick upgrades in terms of the offhand from Nightbane that has some crit and spell power. If you're really desperate for a hit, then you can also get the one from Netherspite. It has some spell power and some hit. For the wand, you want to get the wand from Mag, which has 14 crit, 16 spell power, 11 int. If you're really in need of hit, there is a slight downgrade that's quite similar though. The one from Shade, it has 11 hit, 15 spell power, 9 int. So go for whatever one you need. In terms of legs, the best in slot is the Trial Fire legs. These ones have quite a bit of intellect, which is why they're your BIS, 40 int, 49 spell power, and 3 sockets as well. It's quite easy to get since it can drop off all 3 bosses on the Opera event. It's on the shared loot table. If you're really in need of hit, there are 2 other options like the tier 4 legs. They're slightly worse though because they don't have any sockets. Or you can also craft the Spell Strike legs, 46 spell power, 22 hit, 26 crit, 3 gems. But the only issue or downfall with the Spell Strike legs is that they don't have too much int, so only 8 ints, quite low, especially Arcane. That's quite a valuable stat. In terms of the boots, you'd want to get the boots off of Maiden here, 19 crit, 26 spell power. You have another alternative for hit, which are the Ruby Slippers from the Wizard of Oz. These ones are 16 hit, 35 spell power, and they have a little bit more int as well. I would say though the Ruby Slippers are a little bit harder to get since they don't drop from all 3 bosses from the Opera event. It's not on the shared loot table, so it's only from Wizard of Oz. So just something to keep in mind. For the rings, you'll want to get the Violet Signet of the Arcane Mage. This one is essentially free. You get it passively just from running Karazhan. It's from the Rep Turn-in from Karazhan, so you can get this ring essentially as soon as you do your first Karazhan run. And you'll want to upgrade it all the way until you're Exalted. This will be your best in slot. For your second ring, you do want to get the ring from Mag since this offers some hit, and it'll be nice to switch in and out depending on if you have an Ellie Shaman or not. If you're down on the totem pole or the loot council list for the Mag head in order to get that ring, you can get another ring which is from the chess event. The Ring of Reoccurrence. This one is really great, and I'd still suggest to try to get a hold of it since it'll be your best in slot going into phase 2 as well. And lastly, for your trinkets, there's quite a lot of debate. There's quite a few combinations that you could do. However, I would say that the most stable one, the one that you'll pretty much want to use on every single fight, is Icon of the Silver Crescent, which comes off of the badge vendor. This one just offers you a lot of raw spell power as well as the on use, which is really good. The only times where you'd maybe want to slot it out is if you're doing a cheese strat where you're killing the boss under say 20-25 seconds or so. You might want to use like a haste trinket like Mind Quickening Gem, but other than that, you'd want to use it on pretty much every single fight. For your second trinket, it really depends on kill time and team composition, as well as personal preference, but the big 2 are Quag's Eye from Slave Pen's Heroic, as well as the Lightning Cap from Ilhoof and Karazhan. I personally prefer using the Lightning Cap, and the reason for that is, like previously mentioned, the proc off of Quag's Eye can really mess up your rotation when you're trying to conserve some mana, so I just find it easier just to use the Lightning Cap. There's also some great hit trinkets like Scribe's Blood Gem. However, again, you typically should be able to get hit cap off of the items other than trinkets, so I would really stay away from that one. And I also wanted to mention there's Mark of the Champion if you were lucky enough to get that trinket off of Nax in Classic. This one is really good if you're fighting demons or undeads. So that sums up the Arcane Mage guide for today. I hope you guys learned a few things or two. I tried my best to keep it as simple as possible. However, if you guys want to see some more in-depth guides or tips and tricks, just let me know and I'll start working on that for you guys. Once again, if you do disagree with anything that I mentioned or feel like I missed something, just make sure to comment down below so others can see and benefit from it. And make sure to like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and I'll see you guys in the next one.